Now, we've been exploring some of the different Kai disciplines, and as you make it through the various books and you grow in ability, you're going to be adding disciplines. So ultimately, the tactica strategy is in the core books is your ranking. What order are you going to take these disciplines and how are you going to build it? And certainly while they're all useful, one could say from a purely meta point of view in terms of making the books winnable and opening up various character options. Of course, you could play with specific builds, a combat build versus a stealth build. In exploring that, we do rank them in terms of these are the most essential ones in the beginning, and these are ones that we'll take a little bit later on, depending on the scenario and how it advances. Now, healing is really, really interesting, and for a long time, I've kind of been debating healing. There are times that my play through the series, I will take healing. There are also times where I've said, let's not take healing at all. Let's wait till the very end with the last Kai ability for healing. Whether that's a hardcore kind of no reload run or exploring it. But I understand the idea of healing in that you take this, the Kai power coursing through you, that discipline, it's going to gradually heal as you move forward. It's going to allow you to recover long enough after a fight that either you don't have to consume healing pots or healing potions, and it's going to help top you off for that next fight. Now, there are, depending on the scenario and where you are in the narrative of the book, there are a couple of times where it's combat after combat after combat, and I'm not going to be able to utilize healing. But I do have to say it makes the general playthrough much, much easier. Of course, you have to remember to bump the healing +1 as you move through the various chapters. There's been times where I've been so immersed in the book and visualizing that narrative and checking out the artwork that I'm like 5 or 6 chapters in from a combat where I got hurt, and I'm like, I got to heal up. So you do have to remember it. But I do consider healing almost an auto-include. For me, in terms of character creation, I think it really depends on your stock base endurance. I mean, yes, in theory, you could complete the first series of books with the base endurance and base combat skill +1. You know, on the D10, you roll that 1. If you're playing kind of hardcore, you don't roll D3 and take the highest. You can do it. You can do it. And there are items, of course, that are going to add to your endurance and your health and that ability in terms of arms and armor and special trinkets. But healing is a great way just to make sure that number is always topped off. And depending on what your initial endurance number is, it does make it much easier or harder to run through the series itself. So I do consider it an auto-include, especially in the first couple of playthroughs. In later playthroughs, as kind of a hardcore run, it's a little bit of extra insurance. Even if you kind of know the most optimal path and you have an idea of what you're doing, it is dice-based combat. And even if you have the combat differences stacked in your favor, you could roll a series of 1, 2s, or 3s, and it's like my special trinket with a reroll for once in the book. Do I want to use it for that? Absolutely not. Having healing builds that in.